Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to re-upcycle a chest of drawers that I made 6 years ago that needs a revamp, and I thought I'd take you along with me. But first, only 4% of you who watch my videos subscribe to my channel, so please help a girl out. Like, subscribe and hit that notification bell and keep up to date with any new tutorials I bring out. Also, I have a massive competition running along with this tutorial, so watch right to the end to see how you can enter. Let's get started. First, let's take off all the hardware. I'm actually going to replace these with some nice shiny brass ones. Now I'm going to take all the drawers out and place them on the floor in the order they came out in. Let's flip this baby over so I can prep the brass feet. So I've got a nifty little tip here. I like to use a 240 grit nail buffer. This really brings up the shine. It removes all the buildup of dirt and grime with no scratches. Absolutely genius. And now I'm going to tape up the brass so I don't get any paint on it during this project. I'm just taking a sanding pad and lightly going over the paintwork and also popping off these brass caps, where I'm going to do the same thing, buff them up nicely to a high shine, but I'm not placing these back on until I've painted. I've chosen a nice slate grey for this re-upcycled chest, and I'm going to give it a nice even coat on the base. And another reason for taping up anything like the brass is so you can be lazy with your paint strokes. Right then, let's turn her back over and get on with the sanding. Now, this has been painted before, so it should be quite easy to sand unless we've got big old drips of paint. But I've got some deep scratches here, so I'm going to sand it up first just to see how deep these scratches are. I'm using a 120 grit sanding pad here because even though it has some deep scratches that I showed you, it's a really smooth paint finish, so I'm just going to give it a light going over so it's got a good key for the paint. Yeah, that scratch is quite deep, so I'm going to sand the rest of the piece and come back to this in a minute. Right, let's talk about scratches and dents. So I'm going to use this ready mix filler and I'm going to squeeze it in and use a spatula to just push it in and make it nice and flat. I am actually quite good at this because this is how I put my foundation on. I left the filler to dry for about 15 minutes and I'm now going to go over with a 220 buffing pad and dust it all off, ready for the first coat of paint. I'm about to give it its first coat. Before that, let me tell you about this huge competition. How do you fancy winning one of my boxer dog lamps? Or win yourself a roll of any of our wallpaper off our website, just like the one we use today? Well, all you have to do is like and subscribe to my channel and leave a comment under this video of why you think you should win. I'll announce the winner in the next video. I like to start by painting the back of my pieces. I'm using a lovely water-based eggshell paint today and the coverage is amazing. Once I've covered the top and the paint is still wet, I like to drag the brush from left to right with no weight on it, just to give those nice straight lines. And then once dry, you shouldn't have any paint strokes. I'm just using some low tack tape so I can get some nice straight lines just inside the drawer. Right, let's talk about the drawer fronts. Now, these have been previously papered and thankfully the paper is nice and flat. So what I'm going to do is just give it a light going over with a 220 grit sandpaper. You can do this with a machine like me, or you can do this by hand. If the previously papered drawers are lumpy or bumpy, I suggest taking the paper off completely. There are two ways you can do this. Either get a sander and completely sand it back down to the wood, or paste it in water, leave it for a few minutes and scrape it off with a blade or a wallpaper scraper. So I've retaped the sides to give me that nice straight edge again, and I'm just doing inside the lip of the drawers in the paint. So the edges are nice and dry. I'm going to remove the tape and I'm going to place the drawers in the right order back into the casing. I'm just pouring out my regular PVA glue, and I've chosen to do a nice mustard chimerical wallpaper on the front. I'm just working out roughly where I want my wallpaper placed so I can get my animals right in the middle. I've pulled the top drawer out slightly and I'm applying the PVA nice and even. Checking it straight and rubbing on firmly. After rubbing it on firmly, I take my blade and at a 45-degree angle, I slice off the bottom. I do hold the bottom of that wallpaper so it doesn't pull it off. And then I do the same with the top. At this point, I actually realised my blade wasn't cutting as cleanly as I wanted, so I got myself a new one. Right, I've pulled the second drawer out because I now want to line the paper up with the drawer above. And there we go. I've laid flush the two top drawers and I've placed the paper exactly where I cut it from the one above. I'm just going to repeat this process now right down to the bottom drawer. So I'm going to match up the right-hand side of the drawers with the paper. And then I'm going to take that paper and cut it right up the middle. So the left-hand side of the paper will do the right-hand side of the drawers, and the right-hand side of the paper will do the left-hand side of the drawers. The reason I do the first bit of paper in while the drawers are in the casing is to stop any movement. When you take the drawers out and lay them on the floor, they can sit differently to how they do back in their casing. I like to take a tiny bit of the corners off so nothing gets caught on them. I'm going to repeat this process now with all of the drawers. So the paint is nice and dry now from the first coat. I'm going over with a 220 buffer, ready for my second coat. Not forgetting to go from left to right or right to left with a nice even straight strokes. So when that dries, the brush stroke should disappear. The edges where you've cut the paper normally show through white. So get your paintbrush, wipe the paint off it so it's quite dry, and then use the side edge of it like a crayon and go around the outside. I always recommend you seal your wallpaper or wrapping paper or whatever you use on the front of your drawers. Today I'm using Polyfine's Decorator's Varnish in a gloss finish. I'm just going to clean her up with my favourite wood oil. All that's left now is the knobs, and I've found these beautiful high shine brassy looking ones. And then place on the caps. And there we go, a re-upcycled chest of drawers brought bang up to date. if you stuck through to the end, thank you. And I hope you enjoyed this journey and good luck in the competition.